I'm Cadet Conklin, and I'm going to teach you how to evaluate a casualty. When you come upon a casualty, you're going to come down here, you're going to have a buddy riding a 9-line next to you. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check for responsiveness. Alright, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to check for auditory responsiveness. Hey, can you hear me? Are you okay? If he doesn't respond to that, I'm going to check for visual responsiveness. Nothing. Now I'm going to check and see if he's still not responding even to touch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check for breathing. To check for breathing, you're going to look, listen, and feel. You're going to get down, you're going to look and see if his chest is rising and falling. You're going to listen for breathing sounds, and you're going to try and feel his breath on your cheek. So this is how you do it. Okay, I can see that his chest is rising and falling, and I can feel his breath on my cheek, so he's breathing. Next thing I'm going to do is check for bleeding. So to check for bleeding, you're going to use the tips of your fingers only. You're not going to move him, and you're not going to lift him. So the way to check for bleeding is to start at the top on one side, and just stick the tips of your fingers underneath the casualty and see if there's blood. And just continue to do that. Make sure you pull your fingers out each time so you know where the blood is coming from if you see any blood. And you'll continue to do that down and then back up the other side. Never stepping over the casualty, always walking around the casualty. Next thing, I'm going to check for shock. Shock, some signs of shock are cold, clammy skin, thirst, and vomiting. Never give someone in shock any water. Next, I'm going to check for fractures. Two types of fractures, closed and open. The way to tell if you have an open fracture is that the bone will be protruding from the skin. Some signs of closed fractures are any area that's jointed where it shouldn't be, or simply swelling and bruising in an area. The next thing I'm going to check for are burns. If you happen to come upon someone with a burn, do not remove the clothing over the burn. Simply apply the bandage over the burn and continue evaluating the casualty. Next thing I'm going to check for is a head injury. Some signs of head injury would be fixed dilated pupils, bleeding from the ears, or simply swelling. If he has a head injury, don't move his head and wait for a medical professional to help. And then the last thing to do is send for help. The way to do that is you find someone and you say, "Go get help," and then come back to me. So the mnemonic device is really bad boys should find better habits soon, which is, to reiterate, responsiveness, breathing, bleeding, shock, fractures, burns, head injury, send for help. So I'm Cadet Conklin, and that is how you evaluate a casualty.